physical with the Branford Exchange. Today I'm going to break down 3 advanced patterns for you guys, showing you, how to run technical analysis and how to identify these more advanced patterns, that more advanced traders use, and why they're useful. So again, there's plenty more than just 3 patterns out there. I mean, you can go online and research and see a bunch of different patterns come up. I mean, hundreds of patterns probably. In this video though, for time purposes, I'm just going to break down 3 patterns that we use, probably the 3 patterns that we use the most at the Branford Exchange. It's going to be the cup and handle pattern, the head and shoulders pattern, and the triangle pattern, because overall I think the triangle pattern is probably the most commonly used or recognized among traders. So at any rate though, I'm going to start off by breaking down the head and shoulders pattern. This one we're going to be looking at JNUG, which is a gold ETF, and we're going to be zooming in right in here. So the head and shoulders is, these 3 patterns are pretty easy to understand, pretty easy to identify. This one, head and shoulders, definitely easy. All you need to basically do is draw one support resistance line to be able to identify it. This line right here that I drew, the support line that I drew at $8. So you can see that, there was resistance here at $8. Eventually JNUG broke above it and managed to get all the way up to $9.70 before it pulled back down to its support down here at $7. And again, it tried to bounce off that support at $7 and, go back up to that $8 resistance and sold off after that $8 rejected it. But it did break above it one time, and that's how you get the head and shoulders pattern. I'll throw a picture up on the screen of what head and shoulders looks like so that you can compare it to this chart if I remember to. I'll try and pull a picture offline and put that on there for you. But at any rate, this is just as, if you look at me, my shoulders are even, they go up. If you drew a support line right here on me, you would see that my shoulders go up to that support line and my head goes above it. So same thing here. This would be my one shoulder, this would be my other shoulder, and this would be my head up here. So the shoulders are going to have the same resistance level and probably the same support level as well. And you can see that in here as, it bounced off, that support at $7, resistance at $8, support at $7, resistance at $8, except for the one time that it broke above it, which formed the head, and that got all the way up to $9.70. If we look into the future here, JNUG is up 10% today, and it's looking hopefully to break above that shoulder resistance. So if it does break above that shoulder resistance, there's a good chance that the stock will continue to uptrend and get back up to its head resistance level, which is at $9.70. So if it breaks above that resistance and confirms that that's a support, there's a good chance that that stock is going to continue to uptrend up to $9.70, which is its resistance at its head. So that's why head and shoulders is important to be able to identify, because as you can see, now that we're a little bit into the future here, after it formed that head and shoulders, it's again testing that resistance at the shoulder. So if it can manage to break above it, that might be a good buy for you. But moving on, that's all it is for head and shoulders. So moving on, I'm going to look at the cup and handle pattern next, and for that I'm going to be looking at the Bank Citigroup's stock. So coming in here to look at what is cup and handle pattern. Well, cup and handle pattern basically forms a cup. So you can see that the cup started to get formed here. It forms a U pattern, not a V pattern, which is important. It's a U pattern. It kind of forms a U, and it starts to form the other side of the cup over here. So you can see it started to sell off, and this is when the cup started to form. It won't get back up to the level where it sold off at, where it started to sell off and form the cup, until it forms its handle, which is the handle is this kind of flag pattern that you see right here. So you can see that it started to come up and then form that cup, but it has to form the handle too, and the handle will be formed on the right side of the cup. So you can see that this flag pattern right here, the stock started to consolidate, and what happens is that it has to break off in one direction or another. And this simple pattern right here, this flag pattern, is going to be important, for the next pattern that I show you, which is the triangle pattern. Because look, so if it's bouncing off, if it has support and resistance, if it has an ascending support and a descending resistance, it's forming a triangle. Look, even if I were to draw a line right there, now we have a triangle right in here. So the stock though, as it gets closer and closer to its angle, it's going to have to break off in one direction or another, because it can't continue to just bounce in between that line until the end of time, because eventually, in here you can see that this triangle, these red lines meet each other. So the stock has to break off in one direction or another. In this case, the stock broke off in a bullish trend. So it broke above the flag pattern there, and then that's when it managed to get back up to the level where it started to sell off at in the first place. So at any rate though, to be able to determine which way is it going to break off in, because a flag pattern and a triangle pattern, which this is important about the one that I'm going to show you next, it only signals a potential breakout, but it doesn't tell you what direction the breakout is going to be. And so just as easy as this broke out in the upward direction, it could have went the other way easily if the resistance was stronger than the support. And a good way to kind of try and determine which way it's going to break out is to look at your other indicators, which is why it's important to never just rely on one indicator or one pattern that you think you can recognize. So in this case, it would have been important to look at the EMA and the SMA and the RSI and the MACD and the VWAP. And if you just look at the EMA and the SMA, the stock was trending above both of them. So for the stock to have broken off in a bearish pattern, it would have been more likely that these shares were trading underneath of the EMA and the SMA, but they weren't. They were trending above it. So as the stock consolidated and started to get closer to the angle in this flag or triangle pattern, it had that support from the SMA, it had that support from the EMA, and it was able to break above the flag pattern and kind of meet back up and finish the cup pattern, because that this is your cup, this is your handle, and it breaks off in one direction or another. In this case, it broke off upward. So that's why that cup and handle pattern is important to be able to recognize. And again, remember what I said about this flag pattern right here, because this is important, and this kind of leads us into our next pattern, which is the triangles. And for that, I'm going to show you guys Exxon, and we're going to look at XOM, the ticker XOM, and you can kind of see, if a stock is making either lower highs and higher lows, or lower highs and lower lows, it can be forming a triangle, like as it is here. Again, if I were to draw just a line right here, then this is more of a triangle, and you can see that the support and resistance lines over time will eventually meet up with each other somewhere, and the stock will continue probably to trade in this pattern and bounce off these support and resistance lines until it gets to the point where it has to break off in one direction or another. And again, that's when it's going to be important to look at the rest of your indicators, look at the EMA, look at the SMA, look at the RSI, look at the MACD, and try and make a prediction based on which way it's going to break out of that triangle pattern. And the triangle pattern, again, is probably the most commonly used in the stock world. I mean, it's the easiest to pick up on. All you really have to do is draw support and resistance lines, and not just horizontal support and resistance lines, but be able to draw ascending or descending support and resistance lines, and then that's how you'll be able to determine or figure out. And there's different types of triangles. There's ascending triangles, descending triangles. The one that I have up right now would be a descending triangle, because the pattern, as it's peaking out, it's getting lower and lower and lower until it breaks off in one direction or another. But there's there's symmetrical triangles, and there's ascending, descending, and definitely a few more. Again, there's a million different patterns out there, and if you guys want us to break down more in the future other than just these three, just let us know in the comments, or let us know in the Discord, or shoot us a DM on any of our social medias, and we'll be happy to post more content about these patterns if this is something that is useful to you guys. But at any rate, yeah, that's the triangle pattern. Again, it's going to have to break off in one direction or another at some point in time, but until then, I mean, you can scalp within this triangle when it's down closer to its support. You can buy in, and then right there, like for example, if you would have bought in at the support at that time, that's worth almost 9%. And then again, when it trends back down, you can pick it up at its support again and then ride it back up. That's an 8% right there. And then again, right now this is close. XOM is close to a good buy right now, honestly, after it starts to trend back up and kind of rise above that EMA. This is that would be good for a 6% potential profit. So if you can identify a triangle, you can scalp it all the way up until it has to break out one direction or another. And then when it's getting ready to break out, then you can decide if you want to stay in the stock or sell it based on the other indicators that you're looking at that are giving you a better idea of which direction it's going to break out in. Because again, it's only signaling that a breakout is ready to happen. It's not signaling which direction the breakout is going to be. And so for that, you have to look at your other indicators and kind of use your head a little bit. But at any rate, that's it for these three patterns. If you guys want to see more about patterns in the future, let us know in the comments and I'll break down more, because again, there's plenty more than three patterns. It's just these are the three that are most common between me and Jordan. These are the three that we like to identify and use the most. They're pretty useful. At any rate though, be sure to follow us on our social medias to stay updated with us, know when we're posting videos, and be sure to get in that Discord chat. We have more and more people every day joining our Discord chat, so be sure to get in there. Don't miss out on any call outs, don't miss out on any tips, and don't miss out on the direct communication that you have with me, Jordan, and other experienced traders that are already in that chat, because a support group is important for you. If you're trying to learn how to do something hard, especially like trading stock, it's important to have people around you that are able to motivate you and kind of point you in the right direction and kind of minimize your learning curve, which is, again, this is what this whole channel is all about, is minimizing your learning curve. So don't hesitate, get in that Discord chat. The link will be in the description. Be sure to like and share if this was helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I think the next video is getting posted by Jordan, and he'll be breaking down why it's important to have a plan, why it's important to know when you're going to buy, when you're going to sell, where you're your stop loss is, why you see potential for profit, what the potential for profit is. That video is going to go up on Wednesday, and it's possible that we might have a stock breakdown tomorrow. I'm not sure though, but definitely Wednesday that video will be up. Again, like and share if this was helpful, and that'll be it. I'll see you guys in the next one.